CBS, this black kid from the projects of Pittsburgh. Because see, it was interesting, because I sat where you all were sitting one day. I sat right there, and I paid attention. But let me tell you something else. See, we gotta recycle our minds. You are student athletes. You represent Columbia High School. The adults here have taken the time to support you. So get in the habit of doing things on time. You play football, when the coach says, I want you to practice at 4 o'clock, you're there at 4 o'clock, or you run laps. So I played high school football, basketball, baseball. I was a halfway decent athlete. But also knew how to do things on time. So we were sitting here this evening with this banquet, and some of you come drifting in, and, oh, hey. You just left each other this afternoon. You knew this banquet was at 7 o'clock. And I understand that families have sometimes trouble and they need to adjust schedules. But when they do that, call people ahead and say, hey, I'm going to be late. Because people prepare things for you. They set things up. So you have to be responsible. You're responsible on the football field. And I hope like hell you're responsible in the classroom. See, because it doesn't make sense to be a halfway decent athlete and don't do your classroom work. See? Because one of the other things I do is I spent 25 years as the vice president of Coca-Cola Company traveling around the world. See? My job was to go to music events and all over the world, sporting events, develop contracts for entertainers. This kid from the projects of Pittsburgh. Before my parents passed, I told my mother before she passed away, had I known it was going to be this good, I'd behave better growing up. And my mother looked at me and said, you're lucky. Because there were a couple of times your father was considering justifiable homicide. And my reaction, I could have charged y'all with child abuse. She said, yeah, we dared you. Because they taught me something. Whatever it is you're going to do it right. And don't waste other people's time. Take that out of your mouth. Don't go through it. It destroys you. You're an athlete. You represent Columbia High School. See, there's significance to that. Because when you come into the classroom, to the school, people say, oh, he plays on the football team. You represent Columbia High School. You represent your family. Understand that. Because a lot of people like to play on the Columbia High School football team. But they don't have enough talent. So they can't take your position. See? This event here is for you. Recognize what you've accomplished on the football field and the classroom. Another job I have right now is that I observe game sites for the NBA. There's a person in each city that goes to all the NBA games, and we sit there and observe, check how the players act, how they handle themselves, how they're dressed. Everything goes on time. If they don't go on time, they get fined. Players stand up for the national anthem, straight line, fully uniform, no gum chewing, no talking. If I write it down that they're doing something wrong, they get fined $5,000. They sit on the bench now, you have to have a sport coat, no sneakers, and no jeans. And if the jeans, dress jeans. Because the league said, you're going to act right if you're going to represent this league. Well, the same principle applies to Columbia High School. See, if the principal and the coach said, hey, I don't like your attitude because you're representing this school. See, this is about growing as a person and developing as a person, being respected as a person. See, just because you had scored 12 touchdowns and all that stuff, that don't mean you should walk around with your pants hanging down below your belt. See, understand that. I see young men all the time. Pull your pants up. I don't want to see your underwear. Understand that. People judge you by the way, two things, by the way you act and by the way you carry yourself. See, not only here, so I just talked to the rookies from the NBA before the season started. They invited me up to talk to them, and I've been knowing these guys since they were junior high school kids. And I tell them all the time, don't embarrass folks, don't embarrass yourself. Same thing. Because you only get one opportunity to make a first good impression. And First time people see you, that's how they judge you. One other thing in closing. For those young men who are football, I'm a little concerned. I mean, that was a great video, but I ain't seen any historically black colleges up there. Understand that. See, this past weekend, I was supposed to be in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I grew up. They usually have a dinner here. Black College All-American Football Weekend. It's one of our shared broadcasts. What they do, they vote the top 22 black college football players in the country, bring them here, and the top black college team in the country the past season. The other thing that they do, they bring back former black college players who played in the NFL. And let me tell you, that is the most awesome team you ever going to see. See, I was always a firm believer. I had a chance, because I played baseball, and I was halfway decent. I had a scholarship offer to Pitt, Penn State, but I said, no, I want to go historically black college. Because I want to be able to deal with my own people. I want to see my folks in positions of leadership. And I know something, that if I go to a historically black college, it was Central State, Wilberforce, Ohio, I'm going to have professors that care about me. I know I'm going to play, because the coach is going to look out for me. He'll talk to me. If I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, he's not going to say, come in and check with your advisor. He's going to walk over to me and grab me in the car and say, you better get your so-and-so in class. You didn't come here just to play sports. See, we have to think about things. We have to think about it. The gentleman just talked about being positive, thinking. See, I used the example earlier. Young man, what's the young man's name from Buford High School that got caught up in the rape place several years ago?
Yeah, Marcus Dixon.
Yeah, he was supposed to go to Vanderbilt. Somewhere. Well, he got caught up in that case, but he was able to get out. He ended up in Hampton and had a hell of a career. A hell of a career. Got a try with a team, didn't make it, but at least he had the opportunity. I mean, it's nice to go to Georgia and Michigan and all that, but you got to understand something. It looks glamorous. But when they sit there and tell you, say, well, yeah, we want you this year, next year they're telling the same guy the same thing they told you. We want you to come here. Well, if you go to this regular black college, and I said earlier about the black college All-American team, the all-time team, they picked 22 guys. The cornerbacks were two people you might have heard of, Mel Blount and Lynn Barney. Safeties were Donnie Shell and Everson Walls. Not bad, huh? The wide receivers, I'll give you one guess who one of them was. Jerry Rice. Right? The other one's John Stallworth. They could play with anybody. The linebackers, Willie Lanier, Harry Carson, and Robert Brazile. Historically black college All-Americans. Great NFL career. Willie Davis made a comment. Of the 22 people selected for the all-time team, and they caught hell because there were about 150 other guys that said, how come, what about me? I went to Southern, I went to Florida A&M. Hey, I thought I was pretty good. Right? Willie Davis said, who, by the way, got a master's degree from the University of Chicago and one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the country. He said 15 of the guys on the all-time team were all pro. Made all NFL. 12 of the guys are in the NFL. Or in the Hall of Fame. For the Hall of Fame. And the other thing he said in closing, not one of us received an offer from a predominantly white school. And we made him pay. Deacon Jones told the story. He said he went to training camp with the Rams, and they told him, go get the ball. You know, because he was free agent. Finally, they said they put him in the practice with the first round draft choice. They said before it was over, they had to go call the police. Because Deacon Jones said, I whipped that white boy's butt every day. A historically black college guy. He got the education. Every one of those guys graduated. They didn't need any help. They went to class. Had a great social life. Let me tell you, I majored in elementary education at Central State because I walked by the building my freshman year and saw all these sisters sitting in this room. And I asked somebody, I said, what are they majoring in here? They said, elementary education. I did just like this. And 4 years later, I was still sitting there. And had the best 4 years I could ever dream of. Got my degree. See, I told people I was a pretty good baseball player. I told this story before. until I ran into Jimmy Wynn and Toy Cannon. And after watching him play, I said, I better get my degree and learn how to play softball and hope I can afford to buy a ticket to go to a baseball game. But guess what? What happened? I ended up moving to Boston, met the great Bill Russell, read our back, got into refereeing. Coca-Cola Company allowed me to have a job where I could almost write my own ticket. I just spoke last year at the football banquet, and I got up and said, you know, I've been to more Super Bowls than anybody in this room and haven't played a game. Because that was my job. But my job was based on how I prepared myself. And when I received the opportunity, I made sure I reached back and brought other people. Because none of us are successful on our own. Whether it's on the football field, the classroom, or in church. And I love my church. I'm a North Cascade Young Methodist Church. In case y'all don't know it. And I'm there 2 or 3 times a week. You know, just to show up, because I feel better when I leave there. But that's all part of growing. But as in closing, I just want to say something. You have proven what hard work can do. And there's a price to pay for hard work. You just can't take things for granted. As I said, the other part about this, and I just spoke at the penitentiary over there off of McDonough. And I also spoke at a youth offender's place. Now listen to the young men say to me, so I asked them, I said, why are you here? Well, I robbed somebody, I got this. I said, how much did you get? And he said, oh, no. Not when you got caught. The time you got away with it. $50. I said, you here for 10 years for $50? $50. And you know what's sad? 1 or 2 of you in here hang out with the wrong people. You know, you have friends. We all have friends. Don't think I'm just calling you up. I have friends. I went to school with guys, high school. Oh, 6 months after we got out of high school, they went to jail. Haven't got out since. Because they thought they could get over on people. See? And let me tell you, when you do something wrong, and I'll close with this. Anytime you do something wrong, whether it's at home or in the street, you get caught. And you pay a price. Because you ain't that smart. That's why the jails are so filled up with people. And the same thing in the classroom. When you don't do your assignments, when the teacher asks you, did you do your homework? Oh, Or when you go home and mom or grandma or somebody say, hey, I need to straighten up the furniture or clean the yard. Oh, I'll get around to it. That's not the way it works. Because none of you got jobs in here. Decent job. So that means everything you got on your back, somebody has given it to you. That nice jacket, unless you got a full-time job, somebody thinks enough of you to give you that. And you earned it. Think about it. So when you go home this evening, because this is like the first day of your life. What happened yesterday is history. We don't know about tomorrow. So when you get up in the morning, go to school, go to Columbia High School, you need to say to yourself, when you get up in the morning, look at the mirror and say, the me I see is the me I'll be. If it is to be, it's up to me. Thank you. Yeah.
I'd like to bring up a person now who has definitely seen the world because he's playing in Canada. So he can definitely tell you about it, Mr. Stevie Banks.
One other thing before Stephen speaks. For those of you who are seniors and you're going to visit schools, do me a favor, include a historically black college in that visit. Because it helps you and it helps the school. And most of you know Derek Favors. He and I were talking one day, and I said to him, he was trying to decide where to go to school. I said, do me a favor, if you can, play for a black coach. Play for a black coach. Whether it's at Georgia Tech, ended up at Georgia Tech. But play for a black coach. Because we made those other guys millionaires. See, so it's time for us to look out for each other. No disrespect to my Caucasian friend. See that? Alarm came on when I said that.
Oh, man. Well, I'm truly humbled to be and happy and blessed and fortunate to be here. I kind of take, I guess, an in-between stance between Mr. Hudson and Mr. Evans. I went to a historically black college, graduated with an international business degree. I went to Bethune-Cookman. I was a 3-time All-American. I still hold an NCAA record for tackles for loss, and I'm second in the world ever for sacks in NCAA history. But because I went to an HBCU, I didn't get drafted high.